Hello. Okay, Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, a space opera directed by Zack Snyder with a story that he also conceived. This project originally started as a Star Wars film that Zack Snyder pitched to Lucasfilm before Disney acquired Lucasfilm. And I find that very interesting. I would love to have seen kind of what he had envisioned for a much more mature take on a Star Wars movie. And I think this is going to be the closest we get to that. So Rebel Moon is set in a fictional galaxy ruled by the Mother World, whose military, the Imperium, threatens a farming colony on the moon of Velt. Korra, a former Imperium soldier, ventures on a quest to recruit warriors from across the galaxy to make a stand against the Imperium before they return to Velt. So the actual story of this film, Part 1, is quite a basic story, and there's an aspect to it that I really like. It's got a very kind of Western approach to it, where you've got this farming colony who set out to gather a band of outlaws and criminals to help protect them from the evil oppressors. That's basically kind of the story, and you've got Korra who's leading this group of people, this former Imperium soldier, and which has got sort of like kind of slight hints or vibes of the character of Finn from Star Wars. And I'm just wondering, you know, with this being a pitch to Lucasfilm, is that an aspect of this story that they actually took for the character of Finn, maybe? I don't know. But I do like that kind of very simplistic approach to the story with this first part of obviously a much bigger story. And visually, this film is gorgeous. Like, I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder's style of filmmaking. I really like how he uses slow motion in his films. I'm not embarrassed to admit that. I just love how he shoots his films, and visually they always look stunning. They look beautiful, and he knows how to capture a really truly epic shot. Like, there's some beautiful shots at the beginning of this movie with Korra sort of on this farm with this big giant gas planet. And it really took me back to being a kid again, watching films like A New Hope. It has that kind of very kind of retro science fiction vibe to it, which I really dug. And yeah, like I said, there's some really beautiful shots throughout this film. Are there moments where he could have pulled back a little bit on the slow motion? Yes, but it doesn't really affect me or bother me as much as it does to a lot of other people. Unfortunately for me, when it comes to this movie, like, I really wanted to like and love this film. Like, I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder, but unfortunately when it comes to Rebel Moon Part 1, it's definitely style over substance. Like, visually, I dug the movie. I loved the imagination that's within this film, like seeing all the different creatures and how they work, and just seeing how he creates and brings this world to life. I was so fascinated by the designs and how everything worked. Like, the world building aspect to the film is just simply fantastic. I loved it, and I was captivated by that aspect. But unfortunately, I just didn't care about the characters. I really just could not get invested into the characters' journeys. The film was completely devoid of emotion. And so you've got a film where there's a lot of elements that I like. Like, I liked a lot of the aspects of how they approached the story, and I just really dug the film visually. But when it came to these characters' journeys, I just really could not get invested. And a lot of this is down to the very poor writing. The writing in this film is very clunky. It doesn't feel natural a lot of the time. And so it just, like, the dialogue just really didn't work for me to sort of really get me connected to these characters, for me to believe in them. And I just couldn't believe in these characters, and the writing does play a big part in that. In a way, the writing for me was very mechanical. Like, it was devoid of any humanity or soul. And sort of to really sort of bring you along with these characters on their journeys, the writing plays a big part. And yeah, it was just very mechanical and just kind of lacked that kind of soul that I felt like it needed to sort of really give life to these characters, because the performances I actually didn't mind from all of the cast. Like, the performances all around are pretty solid. It's just the writing that kind of really weighs these characters down. So even though I like that kind of basic approach to this story, that kind of really, for me anyway, personally, a very kind of Western approach to the story, the film, as it progresses, does become quite bloated, and it tries to do too much with what is quite a simple story. And so for me personally, along with the very poor writing, they made the mistake by doing too much with this first part. I think they lost focus on what was important with this first part, and that was getting us, the viewers, invested emotionally and to just care about these characters and their backgrounds and their journeys and to get to know them. Unfortunately, they lose sight of that, and the film just becomes very bloated. You've got a lot going on, yet the story remains simplistic, if that makes sense. And so it became a very frustrating experience for me, because I just wanted to find out more about these new characters that we were being introduced to as the story progresses. But the film just felt very eager to get to the next moment, to get to the next new character that they were going to bring on board to help them sort of fight against the Imperium. And, you know, it should have been exciting, but I was just more intrigued. I was definitely intrigued and fascinated by this world because, again, of the visuals and what Zack Snyder was attempting to do. Just unfortunately, that writing and with what they were trying to do with this story, it was just too much. It was too bloated, and it really does affect the overall experience for me. On reflection, as I look back at what it is they attempt to do with this story in this 2 hours and 20 minutes, I do feel like it would have just worked better as a TV show maybe, so we would have had more time to spend with these new characters as they are recruited by Korra. And so would have got us more, invested into these characters' journeys maybe. I don't know. And when it comes to the performances, like I've previously mentioned, they're pretty solid. Like, the standout for me and what I thought was perfect casting was our villain, the Admiral, Atticus Noble, played by Ed Skrein. Like, he's really good at playing villains anyway. But he was brilliant in this. The only thing that was really weighing him down was the writing. And sort of like, I really wanted to know more about this villain to really kind of understand him, and sort of, at the end of the day, you were supposed to hate the villain, and I was almost there, but a lot of that was just simply down to the performance. Like, he does such a fantastic job at playing this evil, slimy character, but when it comes to the writing, I just needed to know more about him and his motivations and understand what makes him tick and all of that. And so again, it just really kind of summed up this overall experience for me. Before I wrap this review up, there are two moments that I want to mention that for me, I really liked these two moments, and they were both character moments, and they showed sort of what this film could have been, the potential of this movie. And they were two moments that actually had me caring about the characters that were on the screen for the briefest of moments. And again, that kind of just added to my frustration, with this experience. And one of those moments is with Jimmy, this mechanical knight voiced by Anthony Hopkins, and he's talking to this young girl on this farm, sort of on the kind of like a river, on the side of this river. And it's a very sweet moment, full of soul and character, and it's just full of what this film could have been. Like, this is one moment where it really sort of got me to care for the briefest of moments when it comes to any of these characters, and again, just adding to the frustration. And, I know I've slammed the writing, but the writing in this particular moment is why this scene had that effect on me. And I was like, they've kind of almost got it by you. And then the other moment then, which is a bit more of a sort of horrific moment, and it's quite a tragic moment, and it's with Atticus Noble, our villain, and this king on this planet. I won't say too much because it's spoiler free, but you've got this creature, this alien, and by the way, the CGI in this movie is pretty good. And, you know, I believed in this character that was on the screen. Like, it's CGI, but I'll be honest with you, I kind of struggled to tell if portions of this particular character were actually practical. Like, that's how good the CGI looked. But anyway, I've kind of gone off on one there. But going back to this particular moment, it's a very brutal moment. But again, down to the writing in this moment, it really kind of got me caring for this one particular character that I barely know, and just giving me a little bit more insight into our villain. And so it's these two moments that really for me showed the potential of this film. They were the briefest of moments that got me to care for the briefest of moments, and so again adding to the frustration. So yeah, I think I've rambled on enough. A frustrating experience with a lot of aspects that I like. You know, when it comes to the approach to the story and just visually, the film is beautiful, and I just really dug sort of the world building and sort of the design of all the creatures and all of that. I was fascinated and intrigued. Unfortunately, I just didn't really care an awful lot for the characters' journeys, and it's a good example of style over substance. I do recommend the movie. It's not unwatchable, and there are sort of aspects to this film that I think people are going to like and appreciate, just like I did. But yeah, it was a very frustrating experience. I am looking forward to part 2, and apparently there is a director's cut, an uncut version of the first part, which I'd be interested in checking out, but I don't really think it's going to solve a lot of my issues, because one of my issues with this is the fact that it's already too bloated with too much going on. But maybe that director's cut will perhaps flesh these characters out a little bit more so we can actually get to know them. If it does that, then my sort of my overall thoughts and feelings about this film may change. So yeah, they're my thoughts on Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, and I will be giving A Child of Fire a 5.5 out of 10. So yeah, they're my thoughts on Rebel Moon Part 1, but what did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you agree or disagree with anything I've said? Then let me know in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. And if you've made it this far into the review, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch future reviews from just some random Welsh geek in Wales ramble on, then please hit the subscribe button. It will mean an awful lot to me. This is my last review of 2023. My next video will be my top 10 favourite movies of 2023, as well as my top 10 moments in film from 2023. And my next movie review will be for Night Swim, which releases at the end of next week. So yeah, a big thank you to everyone that have supported me over the year and have subscribed and connected and communicated with the channel. It means so much. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be catching you guys soon.